Thank you so much. I think that's a great question, and it's really important right now in the life cycle of Namibia's oil and gas industry. So the very first thing I would say is stability. If I could say to anyone, or anyone would listen, I would say don't move the goalposts. Right now, keep things as stable as you can keep them, and also be conscious of what others have already done and what's happened in other places. And so quite often you see this inverse relation to production and, I want to say, attractiveness. So as production climbs, attractiveness tends to go down. And sometimes what happens then is that the industry will pull back from a region, and it may take a long, long time before that interest or that the situation in that country improves sufficiently for the industry to come back. So I would say that's just a lesson that can be learned from many emerging oil producers. And if you can avoid that, I would say that would be a very good thing. The other thing I would say is don't forget that while Namibia right now is the place to be, everybody's excited, there are other places. For instance, offshore Sao Tome and Principe. If a discovery comes up over there in the next couple of months, what you'll see is a shift of focus and interest and capital. So I would say the key takeaway is Namibia is doing fantastically at the moment. Keep on doing the right things. So don't drop the ball. Get to first oil. Don't move the goalposts. Well, S&P Global, we're data providers, so we provide information and insights into what we're seeing and what we've seen. And so we pass that information on to whomever will listen. So that's how we would contribute to it. Well, we have a consulting wing too that can help with things like gas master plans and all of these kind of things that need to be in place as an industry emerges. But fundamentally, where S&P can really help out is in guiding a new country through things that other countries have already been. And because we are not part of that industry, we can have a neutral perspective. And I think that's where we can benefit the industry. I think in terms of strategies moving forward, local content is critical because you obviously want the maximum benefit for the country that's producing the hydrocarbons. The trick here is to be pragmatic about it, because fundamentally what the aim is to get to first oil as fast as possible. And it takes a while for those skills to be developed. So what I would say is let local content learn as we go. Don't hold up the process because there isn't sufficient skill in country yet, but make sure that the skills are being transferred as we move. And so fundamentally, what you want to do is keep your eye on the prize, which is getting to first oil as quickly as possible, and making sure you have legislation in place that ensures Namibians are part of that journey. But part of that journey, that's the thing. The industry is still in its infancy, so it's exploration. So in terms of the services, they will be essentially servicing the service companies. So those service companies that are providing, for instance, drilling expertise and services, there will be a whole little microcosm around that the local people can contribute into. And as I mentioned earlier, as domestic expertise grow, then the ability to move into getting closer and closer to the drill bit fundamentally is what that'll come naturally, but it takes time. So at least right now, there's I would say that for sure there's like a hospitality industry and all of that. That should be already booming, and I think we've already seen in the data there is a direct impact, and things are moving in the right direction. But I would say the industries that serve the exploration industry at the moment, and the IOCs that are establishing themselves in country, those are going to be the first to benefit from, and they're already benefiting. Not a single drop of oil has come out of the ground. So I would say being an example is a critical factor in the development of our whole industry. I would say at the moment, the Angolans are a shining light. They are doing everything correctly. They're approachable. They're friendly. They're moving on terms. There's sufficient stability for investment. I think Namibia could follow in those footsteps. So it's wonderful to have a neighbor to the north to learn from, and I would honestly, I would say, lean on those guys as much as possible. There's a lot of experience there, and like an older brother, if you ever listen to your older brother, they've made the mistakes that you don't need to make. So hopefully they can help out. And then I would just say collaboration. We had a panel a little bit a day ago on the transform margins. So Liberia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Benin. That area is a hot exploration area again, but things could be better if people were collaborating more. So there's something to be said about, for instance, cross-border seismic collaboration. So we've had a lot of discoveries in Namibia already. South Africa at some point will move forward with exploration, and there's a potential to say, okay, let's shoot seismic surveys that span the South Africa-Namibia border, and that requires some collaboration. I think collaboration between different countries, and that can extend far beyond the exploration phase. That can extend into infrastructure, and that's really where things could get interesting for our continent. I think the conversation to be had is, what do we need to do to get to first oil, and maybe what should we not do to drop the ball. I think those are the key conversations. It's the focus now needs to be on getting to first oil as soon as possible, and whatever conversations we can have around things that could disrupt that, we need to take note of those conversations and make sure that this infant doesn't fall over before it actually stands up. I think you really have to have those tough conversations and not take offense to it. I mean, it's always difficult not to be offended when somebody says, hey, be careful about this and that, but it's also wise to listen.